Hooks. How do you speak in them, and how do you allow yourself to master the structure of communication that is going to allow you to get 100,000 views on videos that take you maybe 10 minutes to make? Because if you've been on social media a while, if you've scrolled videos, you're going to see that there's some videos that do really well that are going to go and manage to get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of views with seemingly no editing, no extra sauce. There's some videos that are really well edited. And I'm here to say that I've grown 100,000 plus followers simply without pretty much any editing, just by understanding the structure of how do we communicate in a way that builds intrigue. Because every hook, every video that we make that is going to be successful, it's going to have some kind of hook. It's going to have some kind of reason. Is why is this information valuable? So why, whenever we're making a video, why is this valuable? That's the question that we really want to be answering when we're coming up with an idea to frame a video. If we're wondering why our videos aren't doing as well as we would like, then what's going on is we're simply not framing the information in a way that people want to be interested in. So a hook is many things. There's really two parts to this whole structure of creating videos that are going to be successful without any editing, just by allowing you to show up as your higher self. There is energy and information. And so these are really, in addition to being like the occult aspects that are controlling reality, they're also controlling our videos. Because in order to get the two parts that are going to make a successful hook, you need to both have the energy of, I am someone worth speaking or worth listening to. I am somebody that people are excited by. I'm able to carry my ideas with the amount of emotion that corresponds to their experience, their value in my own life. Because if you'll notice, the people that are really successful content creators that are getting tens or hundreds or millions of views online, right? They're not people that are just speaking in a monotone way. Unless maybe that's their shtick, is being a monotone person. But for the vast majority, you'll see that the people that are succeeding on social media are better communicators than the people that are not. And so the reason why that is because they've mastered the art of having a good energy. So this is being interesting, feeling your words. This is also going and really like getting yourself in the right vibration. Also, it's like being able, it's the internal side of things that is then going and affecting how are you communicating. Because if you don't seem interested in what you're saying, it's also highly likely that other people will not be interested in what you're saying. But if you are intrigued by what you're saying, if you're, let's say a word that I've used to describe this is channeling, then you're going to find that that energy is going to come through you clearly. People are going to see something. People are going to sense that this is something worth listening to. But the actual substance of the video is all about the information. This is about like, how are you framing your videos? For example, like let's say we're going to tell a story on, this is the biggest business lesson that I learned, right? Let's say that's going to be our story. And so like the way to frame this in a way that is not communicating the real information is, this is, unless you're already successful, this is the biggest business lesson I've learned. Probably would not work for you unless you've already demonstrated some really big business success, because people don't know why you're interesting, why they should listen to you. But if you go and you are able to communicate, be like, this is exactly how I managed to manifest a $10,000 a month business without any prior experience, without any planning, but allowing yourself to really go and clarify what is the value to the viewer. Because in order to make a good hook, it's really about promises. And so for the information section, we want to go and promise the value. And in this, we could ask ourselves, like, let's say, if we're going on business lessons still, we could promise like, hey, if you do these 3 steps, you will make $5,000 a month for sure. Like really clarify, oh, this is the biggest business lesson I learned on how easy it is to make $5,000 online. It would then be framed to, this is how you could make $5,000 in the next 6 months, right, as an example. Because in the informational sense, we want to be really showing people that the information is unique, valuable, and also, and I would say those are the main things ultimately. is finding information that is both unique, that they haven't heard before, valuable, and ideally also will prevent discomfort or prevent fears. Because people are afraid of a lot of things. And so one thing that you're going to find if you want to be successful in social media and also in business is that it's a lot easier to give people what they want instead of something that they don't know they want yet. So if you go and ask people, hey, do you want some ground beef and bread? People are going to be like, I'm not sure. If you're like, hey, do you want a burger? You're going to get a much higher success rate because people know that they want a burger. They don't necessarily know if they want ground meat and bread, although it's functionally the same thing in the certain preparations. And so the information is really communicating what do you have to share in a way that can still be interesting and valuable to people, because our brains have evolved from a very hunter-gatherer mindset. We're always looking for things if they're either going to like help us find berries or avoid predators. And so like even in social media, you're going to see this same dynamic played out again and again. Videos are either going to be telling people how to avoid their fears, how to avoid what they don't want to experience, or how to gain what they do want to experience. And so a practice for really like getting informationally aligned with making hooks is asking yourself, what is it? How do I communicate this in a way that is make people going to think that they haven't heard it before? That if they don't listen to this, then there could be a potential threat. There could be something that bad will happen. Or if they listen to this, then they could be finding what it is that they're looking for. You want to be able to communicate the real value of the information that you're doing in a way that is also going to be aligned with your own excitement. Because if you're saying something like, hey, this is how to make $10,000 a month, but you're in like, living on the street downtown, in downtown Seattle, then most people are not going to listen to you, actually. Most people are going to be like, well, what does this person know about making $10,000 a month? But if you're in like a penthouse, you're going and really letting yourself have a really nice background, look like you know what you're doing, look what you're talking about, and then you say, hey, this is the easiest way to make $10,000 a month, and you sound like casual with it, you don't sound like you're justifying yourself, then what's going to happen is people are probably going to want to watch that video. So it's a blend of these two things already, if you're aware of how do you make the information actually contextualize its value for the audience. And then how do I communicate that in a way that's interesting, where I sound interested and comfortable on camera, you're already going to be doing better than 90% of people. Because 90% of people don't even make it this far. But the next real 10% of really managing to communicate this is learning to build intrigue. And so this is really one of the skills that once you're aware of it, you're not going to be able to unsee it. You're going to see that all of your favorite content creators are doing it. And so this is called like intrigue. And it's also called open loops. So this is the secret to why like Netflix makes such addictive series. This is the secret to pretty much most movies, is that they're opening loops of, oh, what is going to happen next? So you need to be able to do that in your same content. It also could be thought of as building anticipation. It could be thought of as a lot of different things, but ultimately what's going to affect your video being successful and that it being pushed out to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people is if people watch the whole video. And so a lot of people will make the mistake of giving away the value of the video too early. They say, oh, we need to have valuable information, so let me just say, this is the weirdest business advice that I've ever heard. Go do print-on-demand TikTok shop. You know, like maybe just an example. Print-on-demand TikTok shop's a somewhat all right business model if you can swing it, but that's not the point of this video, really. The point is really saying how to open loops. So people want to open their loops with just like, they'll just tell the people the thing, and then they'll go and be like, oh, this is how it's worked for me. This is like maybe why you should or shouldn't do it. And they're going to almost be justifying it like they're just trying to communicate as efficiently as possible. And in a way, efficient communication does help, but we almost, in order to succeed and be like a good social media creator that's getting a lot of views, is that we want to be almost reversing the order of things so that we're not actually making what it is that we're fully trying to deliver to people clear until the end. So instead of saying like, this is the best business advice, this is what I've experienced, to say like, hey, this is the weird business advice that like most people won't be able to do, but if you're like have any actual skill or gift and an ability to get comfortable with it, then this is going to definitely work for you. All you're going to need to do is then you go and actually say maybe posting on social media and making an offer will then get you that result. I actually know from my own experience it will. But at any rate, really being able to tell people at the start of the video, hey, this is if you know this is how to know if this video is for you. This is like my experience around this revelation of what it is that I'm about to tell you. This is maybe the reason why it works, or maybe you saw some other famous person going and saying the same advice. You know, you want to build credibility, because ultimately a hook is, again, just why should they listen? That's ultimately the question that everybody's asking themselves on these apps, is why should they listen? So if you can go and make a way for people to realize that your video is worth listening to by then going and making them ask, oh, I want to know what happens next. These are why storytelling videos are doing so well, is because they're making people want to know what happens next. And so if you master these skills, ultimately, of coming on camera with a good energy, with an energy of like, I have something interesting to say, I'm worth being listened to. If you manage to ask yourself, how is the information that I'm communicating different from everything else? How can I say, oh, you haven't heard this before, or maybe you're not doing it, or if you did do this, this is what would happen. Think about what is the best case result if somebody actually took into account that everything that you said and then implemented it, what would happen to them? And then let them know that. Because you're not, even if you're not selling anything, what you are selling is the idea that it's a good idea to watch your video. To be able to communicate what information in it is valuable. And the last part is build intrigue, open loops. Don't give it all away immediately. Don't give it all away. This is exactly why strip clubs are so popular. But you can see this in every sort of media, is that people, like, they're not telling you what happens in the plot of, you know, the last Harry Potter. They're saying, oh, it's the final conclusion to Harry Potter. Come in and see what happens at the end. You know, see if he manages to kill Voldemort, right? Is they're not going to go and tell you this is what happens. They're going to say, oh, this is what you can see. So like, learn to build intrigue within your own videos. It's going to make people ask, what happens next? What is this story? What is this, like, if you start a video like, I had a dinner with a billionaire and it was way weirder than I thought. And I've been researching billionaire conspiracies for years. You know, like, that video is going to get a lot of interest because people are going to want to know what happens next. And so be asked, don't think that you need to give away exactly what it is that you're going to say at the start of the video. Go and clarify what happens if they even did this, right? Get them stoked on the idea of even implementing this, of figuring it out in their own life. And then once they're already invested into watching the video, then give it to them where they can properly appreciate it, right? This is why restaurants go to such lengths to have nice ambiance so people can really appreciate the experience rather than just being like, oh, here's the best food, go and eat it in your parking lot in the car. They're like, no, come in, go and get seated at a nice place with a nice ambiance, go and order, look at the menu, maybe have some bread and have an experience. So think about the delivery of an experience in your videos. So anyways, if you've watched this and you actually implement this, you will be well ahead of like 95% of creators. And if you allow yourself to simply stay consistent with it, it is very likely that you will see success. If you do want to go and maximize your chances of really using this blueprint, I did just make a community that is called New Earth Yappers. I show you the full blueprint, really, of how you can grow your next 10,000 followers without any editing in like 30 minutes a day. One of my first students, Juan Pablo, in the first month, really, of working with this blueprint, he managed to grow 3,000 followers and is well on his way to starting an established personal brand, even though he was thinking about it for years. So if that's you and you want the blueprint, go click the link below. I will put it in the description. And let me know if you thought of this video. Let me know if it was helpful for you. This is the exact structure that has let me grow 100,000 followers, and I hope it will for you too. Aloha.